What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. Thought it was finally time for me to sit down and film a video for you because it has been a hot minute. I have my filming cup and I'm ready to go. It's filled with water because I've already had 1 cup of coffee and I do not want to have an anxiety attack today. A little update about my life. So I actually decided to skip the life update because I realized how much stuff I have to update you guys on and I can save it for another video. So let's just get right into the video. Let me give you guys a little explanation of how this video is going to work. So I don't know if most of you know, but Jake and I and some friends took a 5-day car camping trip about a month ago. And I wanted to vlog our trip, but there was just so much stuff that we were doing that I couldn't get all of it in like an organized vlog shoot. So instead, I'm going to sit down and talk through our trip, and in between I'm going to add in clips that I've taken that kind of explain and give you a picture of how our trip went. So before I get into explaining the actual trip that we took, I do want to explain that there was 4 of us in our little group. It was me, Jake, Brittany, and Diego. And we all had our individual roles to our team, and that's kind of like how we worked so well together during this trip. Now, I obviously was like the videographer slash photographer because I took so many of the videos and pictures. Diego was our map guy. He was the guy who mapped out our entire trip, figured out where we were gonna sleep, the easiest way for us to get from point A to point B, and he was just the guy who kind of put it all together. And Jacob was our equipment guy. He had every little easy gadget that made our life easier on the trip. And last but not least, Britt was our chef. Every night and every morning she cooked us breakfast or dinner, whatever we felt like having. And she was the person who kept us fed and full during our trip, which was awesome. So together, we made a team and we were called the Caravan Campers. We went through California, Nevada, Utah, and some of Arizona. Now, our first reasoning behind taking this trip was because we wanted to visit the Grand Canyon. Now, mind you, this was when coronavirus was kind of at its peak and we kind of weren't sure what was open and what wasn't, but we thought it was cool that we were going car camping because we were social distancing from each other as well as social distancing from other people because we were living in our cars. Now, the first day of our trip had a majority of the driving in it. We were expected to drive at least 12 hours and we ended up driving a total of 15 hours that day. We wanted to get a majority of our driving done the first day so that all of the other days we were only driving like 1 to 2 hours each day. Our first stop of our trip was at Lake Tahoe, and when we went to Lake Tahoe it was freezing cold. And we were not expecting it to be cold at all. For some reason, we were thinking of the trip as California weather, and during this time it was kind of getting a little bit hotter, and so we packed a majority of hot clothes. All we brought was like maybe a long sleeve and a sweatshirt, but our trip was going good. We were a little bit cold, we had to shake it off a bit, warm our bodies up, and then we just kept on going. So from Lake Tahoe, we started to drive through Nevada. And I don't know if you guys know this, but you can go straight through Nevada by taking Highway 50, and it is considered the loneliest highway in the United States. And this is because there is literally nobody on the road. It was just us for hours and hours, and I was so bored. I'm so happy that I brought my journal because I got to journal a little bit, doodle a little bit, and spend my free time doing that. Thank God Jake was driving because I fall asleep very easily when driving, and so I'm grateful that he took it upon himself to drive that lonely highway. And as we were driving through Highway 50, it started to get a little bit stormy, cloudy, and definitely very cold. We started to see a little bit of snow coming down, and we were like, okay, cool, that's kind of fun. As we go further up this mountain, it just turns completely white and it becomes a little bit hard to see, especially since we were following our group of friends in front of us. Definitely not something that we were used to, but it was a cool experience to see the snow. We were able to get out and kind of hang out by the snow and take pictures on the highway because literally no cars in sight. Now we're going up this mountain, but then we started to go down the mountain and it automatically cleared up and we saw blue skies. It was no longer raining. It was just weird random weather all within like 2 hours time frame. Finally, as we went down Highway 50, we passed Nevada and we finally hit Utah. And the cool thing when we got to Utah was we were driving down the highway and all we saw on the right hand side was a sign that said welcome to Utah, and then on the left hand side there was a sign that said welcome to Nevada. So literally we could walk across 2 states. And we got to our campsite around 8 p.m. We were kind of rushing to beat the sun because the sun was coming down, but we needed to get to our campsite before the sun came down so that we can set up our camping stuff, set up our cars, and also build a campfire so we can eat some dinner. So finally at around 8:30 when the sun was setting, we got to our campsite, and at our campsite we kind of lucked out. It had porta potties, benches, and a fire pit, all of which we were not expecting to get at a free campsite. And here is a video of us getting ready for bed in our car. So this is our light source when we're in the Prius. We are currently laying down. This is our view. Nothing. Time to go sleep. And our heads were facing the back window and our feet kind of came out through front seats because Jake is a lot taller than I am, so he does need a little bit more leg room. For privacy purposes, we did cut out black paper and pasted them onto our windows so that nobody can see inside and we can't see outside, which definitely made me feel so much more protected. Our first night, it was snowing and we were freezing because we did not bring a sleeping bag, we only brought a blanket. And so the blanket doesn't really trap as much heat as the sleeping bag does. But fast forward to the next morning, we went straight to a hot springs that we found in Utah. Now, I have never been to a hot springs. I had no idea what a hot springs was, but basically a hot springs is like a hot tub built into the earth, and it's very warm water that is heated from the earth's interior. And we decided to hang out there for a minute and we kind of just relaxed and hung out, took some pictures, and it was a good time. And just like swimming in a pool, when you're done swimming, you're craving a sandwich. So we went back to our cars and we kind of just had a little picnic outside of our cars and we ate croissant sandwiches. We decided to get back on the road again. We drove for about like 3 to 4 hours in order to get to our next campsite, and because we woke up so late and because we were sightseeing so much, we were definitely trying to beat the sun. Now as we got in further and further into Utah, we started to see more prettier mountains, and of course we had to stop at the lookout points and take some pictures and videos because it was just so beautiful. And then finally at around 9:30 p.m. we got to our campsite. When we got to our campsite, it was dark and we couldn't see much. I don't have any pictures or videos at this campsite, which is very unfortunate because it was my most favorite campsite. Basically, the campsite had kind of like a sandy ground to it. Our cars were parked right next to a stream, so we fell asleep to the sound of the water, which was amazing. And there was definitely a lot of privacy when we had to use the bathroom because there were these big huge rocks that we could kind of stand behind and nobody can see you. And yes, we did sometimes have to pee and poop outside, but I won't go into too much detail. And then we left before the sun came up so I couldn't take any pictures of it in the morning. And now we are on our third day of our trip. We wake up to a brisk morning to the sound of the stream hitting the rocks, and we make our way towards Zion National Park. So we had to get to Zion National Park super early because the park fills up very fast and there's very limited parking. By the time we were getting into Zion National Park, we were seeing the sunrise and it was so gorgeous. I took so many videos and pictures. The videos and pictures that I took do not do it justice whatsoever. It's definitely 10 times better, 100 times better to see it with your own two eyes. So we decided to just hang out at this eating area for about 2 hours until we did our hike, and we just used a propane tank stove to cook some potatoes, and we ate some breakfast and just hung out. Once our food digested, we did a hike, and it was called Emerald Pool Hike. Now, it was called Emerald Pool because at the end of the hike you are rewarded by seeing an emerald pool, and it said no swimming, but we did put our feet in for a little while. And then once we were done with this hike, we went to a gift shop and we bought some t-shirts, some magnets and stickers, stuff like that, you know, touristy things. And then we went back on the road again to our next camping site. This next camping site was in Utah, and it was definitely my least favorite camping site because of how dry and dead it was, and there was no trees in sight, so there was no shade, and the sun was just beaming on us, but it was definitely a free place to sleep. And then the next morning we went to Valley of Fire State Park, and I was not expecting for the rocks and the sand to be so red. And now I understand why they call it Valley of Fire. We took so many pictures and so many videos of the pretty rocks and the pretty sand. Now, after Valley of Fire State Park, we started to make our way towards California again. After this, we went through Death Valley, which was also very, very hot. Now, our second to last camping site was also very pretty. We got there at sunset, we set up our camp, and then we went right to bed because by this time we were exhausted from the heat and from doing so much physical activity. We woke up the next morning and drove through LA to get to San Luis Obispo. This was our last stop, our last night camping. It was so pretty because we were on top of this mountain and we were watching the sunset with the clouds over the mountain, and it was just so beautiful. We even took a time lapse of the sunset, but it was a failed attempt, as you can tell. This was our last night camping, so we definitely took advantage of it. We played some cards, we ate a good dinner. The next morning, our last day, as we're heading back to Chico, California, we drove through the coast and we passed through Monterey Bay, and we got some oysters and some food to eat. And the drive back to Chico made me so exhausted. I didn't realize how exhausted I was until we started driving back home. And then I was looking forward to being in my bed and kind of just relaxing for a few days. But yeah, overall it was an amazing trip. I do not regret it whatsoever, and everything was working out in our favor. We were definitely so blessed to have gone at that time because there wasn't a lot of other people traveling, and we weren't expecting most of those state parks to be open, but they were. And due to coronavirus, there was no entrance fee, and so we got into all of the national parks for free, which we were expecting to pay at least like $10 every time or $50 to camp. So I definitely urge you, if you have been thinking about going car camping, just do it, okay? Because I have been so hesitant about it for so long, but now that I've actually experienced it, I'll definitely do it a lot more often. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it gives you a sense of how our trip was, and I hope that it inspires you to get out and do some more adventurous things, probably go car camping or go regular tent camping. Up to you. Thank you for watching my videos. Make sure to like this video, give it a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to my channel if you are not already subscribed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.